Good evening. I would like to call to order the Kaiser City Council. It is Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Kohler?
Here.
Councilor Herrera?
Here.
Councilor Reed? Here. Mayor Clark?
Here.
Council President Smith? Here. Councilor Starr? Here. Councilor Duran?
Here.
And our youth counselor is?
Youth Councilor is not present tonight.
She's out cheering for our McNary selves. So, way to go. At this time, if you are able, I invite you to stand and please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening. Under special orders of business, we have no agenda items tonight, and under committee reports, we have Matt Lawyer, who is going to give us the Parks report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and staff. For the record, Matt Lawyer, Parks Advisory Board. I think since Richard Walsh is in the audience, I need to talk as long as humanly possible in honor of a former colleague on the board, but I'm not going to. just teasing him. So we've had really long meetings in December and January. December's was 12 minutes, and January was about 27, which I think just goes to say that staff is doing an incredible job. It's winter, but there's still a lot of work going on. We had our annual election of chair and vice chair, and I want to say first, for the record, that David Loudon has served as the chair of the Parks Advisory Board for, I don't know, a very long time, probably north of 8-9 years, and has done an incredible job. And I think it's largely because of his leadership and ability to tolerate some of those very long discussions that myself and Mr. Walsh would have during the parks fee discussion and others, that we were able to navigate the really complicated process that existed to get to the point where we are now. But for the first time in as long, we've elected Tanya Hamilton as the chair, and David Loudon will serve as the vice chair. So he's still active in a leadership role, but kind of stepping back into more of just a role that the rest of us play on there. In December, we said goodbye to Wayne and Dustin. Wayne served on the Parks Board kind of about 2/3 of the way through the Parks fee discussion and brought a lot of really incredible ideas to the Parks Department. Was a huge advocate for Country Glen and Hidden Creek, and always kept us aware of the things that were going on there. And when you had Councilor Herrera and Wayne both advocating for the same park, we got some really good work done down there. So appreciate all the work that Wayne did. And then Dustin wasn't on for very long, but he had some really good things that he brought up and participated in a lot of discussions, so we really appreciated his efforts as well. Parks welcomed Lisa and Katie to the Parks Board. So this month was their first meeting, and we're really happy to have Lisa on there. In fact, I'm more happy because she's an excellent photographer, and I think as we're doing some really good work in the parks, maybe we can recruit her to take some great before and after pictures. I haven't even talked to her about that, but whatever.
That's kind of how it rolls, by the way. So, but you know that.
We switched up our parks, so every year we switch up the parks that we kind of look after. And so we've got new parks assigned to us this year, which is exciting. It gives the Parks Board members opportunities to kind of see a variety of different parks over the course of their term. And we're just kind of doing a lot of really good work. Robert Johnson talked about a bunch of trees that are going to need to be planted, both at Keizer Rapids, but also down at Country Glen and various other parks. So there's going to be a number of trees and another number of volunteer opportunities to do those tree plantings. So looking forward to working with our organizations on that. And I think that's about it. Sorry, Richard. Less than 5 minutes.
Brevity is always appreciated, as long as it is also complete. Thank you very much for that, and also for the work of the board and the park staff. Winter is not a don't do anything time. Winter, I don't know about your backyard, but it is demanding attention. Any questions from council?
Oh, I did forget one thing. So the park staff did buy a new tractor which doesn't seem like a huge thing, but it's a great thing. It's going to give Robert a lot more flexibility and utility. The current Kubota they have is at least 10 or 15 years old, I believe. And so getting a new piece of equipment will be great, but the Kubota can still be used as well. So just improving all the time.
Fantastic. Quick switch of hats. Claggett Creek Watershed Council, do you have meetings or projects coming up for that organization?
Great question. So we did not have a meeting in January. We're going to be meeting next month and talking about the tree planting that will happen probably in March, maybe April at Kaiser Rapids. There's a number of trees in the Arboretum that we've got to replace. They died and some other issues and stuff, so we'll be doing that. And then getting ready to have conversations about the annual Civic Center cleanup. So Mark and I have been talking about that. We're looking at the date that we've got currently selected for it and seeing if that's still a really good date or not. So we haven't landed on that quite yet, but we're looking at, I think it's March 12th is this current scheduled date, but we might be pushing it to April, but we got to take a couple things into consideration before we make a recommendation on that. But we're bringing more folks on board. We brought Javier Martin Venus from McNary. He is the JROTC leader. He has an incredible ability to do projects, and then so he's going to be working very closely with the ROTC and the McNary leadership folks to bring more projects forward, which would be really good. And then we brought Jeff Anderson back on board. He was on the Claggett Creek Watershed Council 2.0 when Mayor Coho sort of resurrected that a number of years ago. And so Jeff's come back on board. And we're wooing a couple other folks in the community to try to come on board for that. But we're strengthening up our membership and our council and moving on to some really great projects. So West Keizer Neighborhood Association, we were supposed to partner with them in November at Wallace House. But that was, or I guess it was December. It's whenever we had all that rain and it was coming from every direction except for the parade, which was really nice because it stopped that night. But yeah, the rain just made working at the outflow probably more dangerous than what was acceptable. And so we kind of pulled the plug on that one for that weekend, but we'll be revisiting that probably in the spring as well. So nice thing about West Keizer is they never have a lack of things that we can do, which is great. And we get an opportunity to do a lot of good projects.
That is for sure. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot with that.
Anytime.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here for a committee report that may not have signed in? All right. That will take us to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing scheduled this evening, which is a resolution authorization for supplemental budget, administrative services, retirement costs. So if you're here for that, stand by. Before we go to spoken comment, we want to acknowledge for the record two public comments. One is from Matt Lawyer, resident of Kaiser. Topic is thoughts and comments on original summer concert series RFP process. Thank you for sending that. And Mr. Charles Anderson, resident of Kaiser, problems from McNary High School, ... again, lock the gate. And I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Hare and Chief Teague to, there's really not a lot we can do here. The gate will not be locked. They have been very clear about that. Have you had a conversation with Mr. Anderson yet? Or is this the first contact this year?
Well, it's the first I've heard of it, and Mr. Hare is probably not deeply familiar with the issue or the historical nature of it. But again, it's the first I've heard of it right here.
Okay.
And to echo what you just said, it's the school's decision, not our decision.
Right.
And it's been made known over and over and over again.
It has been, and the school has been absolutely heels dug in about not locking that gate. And there's nothing we can do to make them do so. Period. So, might I recommend forwarding this to the school board, and they can have that conversation internally since it is a school matter. Chief?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll take a copy too if you'll give me a copy of that.
Okay.
Do I have it in the packet?
No, it's not in the packet, but we'll get a copy. We have an extra. So, or we'll get one to you. All right, thank you very much. Anybody would like to address the council this evening under public testimony? We don't have anybody signed up. Is there anybody who would like to address the council on an issue this evening? Okay. We will then move on to the public hearing. And this is open public hearing for resolution authorization for supplemental budget administrative services retirement costs. City Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our
Microphone?
Finance Director, Mr. There we go.
There we go.
Our Finance Director, Mr. Wood, is going to address the staff report.
Madam Mayor, City Council, this really is just a cleanup supplemental budget. At a previous meeting, you already approved the retirement of the city attorney, much to my complaints. I was really hoping he'd have another 20 or so years, but so be it. This supplemental budget is to recognize and appropriate $48,000 in additional resources that are available within the Administrative Services Fund. And this is to provide for the regular recurring kind of retirement costs related to the city attorney's retirement. This is net of about $3,900 in PERS contributions that the city will be saving during fiscal year 21-22. Over the life of the remaining time that the city attorney is with us, we are looking at saving about $23,000 in cash as the result of not having to pay the employee pickup, which is the 6% of the salary. In addition to that, we're also looking at approximately $60,000 that will be contributing to PERS, but it won't be going to the city attorney's retirement. It'll actually be going to pay down the unfunded liability. So overall, this is a win for both the city and for the retiring city attorney. And with that, my recommendation is that you take any public comments, close the public testimony, and adopt the attached resolution. And with that, if there's any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? All right, seeing none. I have no one signed up for this public hearing. I would invite anyone present who would like to address this issue to let me know and come on down. For those who are watching, the comment was, are we allowed to object to him retiring? Yes, many of us have that same feeling, and how we're going to download that much experience to any possible degree is going to be extremely difficult and challenging. There's no way to replace the experience of Mr. Johnson, but we're hoping to help a successor have a good transition and keep us going. And I know Mr. Johnson will be very helpful in that. So I would concur. All right, seeing no further testimony, I'm going to close the public hearing. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt a resolution, R 2022, authorization for supplemental budget, administrative service, retirement costs.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, authorization for supplemental budget, administrative services, retirement costs. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. That concludes our public hearings for this evening and takes us to the first item under administrative action, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign Kaiser Rotary Amphitheater Management Agreement for a city-sponsored concert series with KRA LLC. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I turn this over to our city attorney who prepared the staff report, I just want to say that sometimes, you're confronted with the most difficult decisions are not necessarily those that pose the biggest problem. Because in this case, it was a choice between two outstanding choices, in my opinion. We had two excellent proposals, and sometimes those are the hardest ones to navigate. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our city attorney to discuss the staff report.
Thank you, Wes, Madam Mayor and Council. This matter came before Council a couple of months ago. A request for proposals, or RFP, was produced for the management of the free concert series. 2 proposals were submitted. The evaluation team at that time recommended the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce with a higher score. After due consideration, the council felt that the RFP should be redone because there might be a question of fairness in terms of the process and an error in the address. The council directed us to proceed with the exact RFP as before, and we used a totally new evaluation committee, so no one in the second evaluation committee was a member of the first evaluation committee. That was distributed because of the time frame quite quickly, and through the holidays, the due date was for proposals was actually December 27. The evaluation committee scored them immediately, and the same 2 proposers submitted. This time, KRA LLC, or Clint Holland's entity, scored higher in the scoring. So based on that, the staff is recommending council move forward with a contract for KRA LLC. That contract was prepared, has been signed by Clint Holland on behalf of KRA, and is before you tonight for approval. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have questions on the staff report or on the matter on the agenda? Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple different questions on this. I'm reading in your staff report, it says that originally the 2 proposals were submitted. It was due to a late address error and they didn't have sufficient time to go through the proposal. I then read in the next one that says it was distributed a second time. It was posted on the website and sent to the 2 people. Was it not posted on the website at the exact same time the last go round?
I don't recall. I mean, I think it was very close. In terms of when it was sent out on the website, yes.
And standard protocol is to post the RFP on the website. That's where most businesses and such would go to look for RFPs, or do we have a practice
I don't know
of
where
mailing?
most of them would look. We also publish it in DJC, the Daily Journal of Commerce. And if we know of someone who is interested and has requested it, we send it to them.
Gotcha. And then the only other question I have is, I'm confused as to whether or not KRA is an LLC, as a business, or is it a nonprofit? According to the state of Oregon business website, or I'm sorry, business registry, as we did with the the former thing with recruiting.
With Prothman. Mm-hmm.
Prothman, it stated that we had to have them as a registered business with the state of Oregon, and
Right.
I see that they canceled that out as of September 17th of 2020. It was dissolved.
Okay. And I'm not
We
aware
were not
of
aware of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting twist.
Yeah, I just brought that up. Not
So
sure.
I'm a little bit flummoxed at this point. So KRA LLC is not registered with the state of Oregon? Is this a fact?
According to their website.
If you look at it right now on the web, it is an active corporation. There are several.
Excuse me,
You're going to have to come up to
Mr.
the
Walsh?
microphone. And this is a little bit unusual, but this was a curveball I didn't see coming.
There were multiple filings. One of them is inactive, but I think you'll find that there is a current active LLC. If you can look it up on the web right now, I believe that there's one in there.
Yeah, I just did. There was 4. One was canceled in 2009.
Okay.
The one that there's documentation in there that it was dissolved in September 17th of 2020. It's the one that has been historically, all the yearly records have been filed under that one. So I thought maybe you guys had flipped it to a nonprofit.
Well, I didn't have anything to do with any of the corporate
Okay.
papers, but it was my understanding that it was renewed.
Yes, I even called them back, asked if it had been renewed, okay.
And if it hasn't been, it can be renewed before the papers are finalized. It's a filing fee of $30.
Right. And we've done that before. We have a requirement that any organization that we are doing business with has to go ahead and file as so as not to be what they call a foreign business. I know it's weird that they use that in terms of anything outside the state of Oregon. So thank you for getting that information to us, and that will have to be a contingency Okay, Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question actually is for Mr. Wood. Part of the contract requirements are that the city is provided with accounting for both the expenditures and the income and so forth. Has what we have gotten historically been sufficient? And if not, what needs to be done to improve that?
Yes, Councilor Reed, in the past, we did receive financial information and it was sufficient for our purposes.
Okay.
I wouldn't deem anything needing to be different in the future, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions? So I've got just a couple. One has to do with the references that were listed in the proposal. And 3 of the references listed were city employees. It is my understanding that that is not done in proposals to do business with the city to list employees as references because it puts them in a very difficult spot, having to serve as a reference for a procurement. So were the city employees contacted prior to them being listed in the proposal as references? That's my question. Or did they know that they were being listed prior to the submission of the proposal? Tracy, you were one of them. Were you?
Sorry, I wasn't aware that I was one of them.
Okay, thank you. So that was quite a surprise as I read through the proposal that 3 employees were listed as references. I also contacted other references who also did not know they were listed. And this raised some questions in my mind as to listing references without people knowing about it. So as far as I know, that does not disqualify a proposal because it's simply a list of potential references, but it raised a question in my mind. If I were grading it and I knew that people were not included or had not been notified in advance, I would have graded it differently. My other question was, okay, these are statements for the record, so I'm going to hold these because I had a similar question to Councilor Reed regarding the full accounting of costs and making sure that we as the city understand what it really takes to run these programs and keeping track of donations and the non-monetary contributions. And as an LLC, this is a little bit different than a nonprofit, so I don't have the answer. Are they required to keep track of the non-monetary donations or contributions to the program as part of accounting for essentially income that's supposed to go into the program? So if they get a donation of, let's say, food or use of sound equipment or something relative to running a show or the event, is an accounting required for that? So we get a true sense of what it takes to run this. So that's a question.
I think the answer is, sorry. I think the answer is ordinarily yes, you would, that would be, no, I think I'm lying. So yes, you would ordinarily consider, just as you would if you were a nonprofit or any other organization, if you were receiving donations, that would qualify as part of your income.
Okay, and would that be something that would be included in the report to the city as data that would be helpful for us for understanding the true costs of doing this program? So in the future, we would know what it takes to run this in future years and future iterations.
I would have to defer to Tim as to whether or not, I don't know that on the reports that we've received, whether it distinguishes whether it's an in-kind or whether it's actual cash. It's just a value. So it could be either. But I believe we do get a statement showing the total cost, the income received and the expenses have been required.
Okay. Mr. Wood, anything additional?
Based on my review, I don't recall seeing the in-kind donation pieces. I do think we're basically seeing the check register of that entity, so.
Is that something we can ask for in future reports so that we have a more thorough accounting for both the monetary and the in-kind donations? So this is going to help inform us when we are going out in the future to do concerts, so we really understand what it takes to do these programs, similar to conversations we had about other programs, so we really understand the full cost and benefit.
Sure, we can absolutely request that information.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions on the staff report? Councilor Starr.
I just want to clarify. So we are, I guess my clarification question is, what is the requirement for entering into a contract if they're not registered to do business? I'm looking for guidance on that because.
So, as Council President Smith pointed out, when we were doing the recruitment and the RFP for the executive recruiter, this issue came up, and it's come up in previous contracts too. So we do check that they're registered. If they're not registered, they can register very easily, and that's what we would require. So and the website is a little confusing because sometimes certain versions can be extinguished and new versions can come into play. This is not a nonprofit, it is an LLC. The term LLC is not usually used with a nonprofit. There's no requirement that they be a nonprofit. The contract does require them to reinvest all proceeds into the amphitheater or the series. So we will double check tomorrow, and if the LLC is not correctly registered, they'll be required to register.
And according to the website of the Secretary of State's office, that takes about 15 minutes.
I do it annually, so I do it annually, so I understand that.
Yeah.
I think my question is, are we able to move forward?
Oh, certainly. I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
If there isn't a registration, a valid current registration.
Right. No, you can move forward tonight. We won't have the city manager sign the contract if we find out that they're not registered. They'll need to get registered before we sign up. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Good follow-up. Any further questions? Okay. So we need a motion for resolution R 2022 to authorize city manager to sign the contract. Council President Smith? Okay.
I move that the Kaiser City Council approve Resolution R 2022, authorizing the city manager to sign Kaiser Rotary Amphitheater Management Agreement for city-sponsored concert series with KRA LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, authorizing the city manager to sign Kaiser Rotary Amphitheater Management Agreement for city-sponsored concert series with KRA LLC. Discussion, and I'm going to start with a friendly amendment. On section 3, item K as in kilo, the last line allows for what they call incidental charitable donations for other charities that can be done at the concerts. This would give an outside entity the ability to raise funds for nonprofits or other nonprofits in a city-sponsored event, which gives tacit approval or lets them be the spokesperson for the nonprofits that we choose or do not choose to support. My friendly amendment is to remove that last line of section 3, item K. And I talked to the city attorney about this earlier, and the line is
3 of the contract.
item 3, section K, as in kilo, which reads as follows. The last line, in addition, KRA may solicit voluntary donations for other charitable or community causes as an incidental part of the concert. Earlier in the paragraph, it says that they cannot do fundraisers for other organizations, but this says, well, they can pass the hat or do something else for other organizations, which is great if they want to do that, but if it's going to be city-sponsored, I believe it needs to be approved by the city. So that my friendly amendment is to remove that line. I'm looking to the mover to approve, to accept.
Yeah, can I just clarify,
Yes.
just as a concrete example, like Kaiser Homegrown Theater passed baskets and so forth at their intermissions as part, and I don't know if that was considered part of the concert series or if that was something else, but is that something that
No.
would be disallowed by your friendly amendment?
No, what it would not allow is that that you pass the hat for another nonprofit.
Okay.
Because by doing so, you are saying, we are supporting this other nonprofit by collecting funds for them. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, the theater is not part of this.
Correct.
And so, taking out this sentence would not allow that incidental kind of donation at
Right.
the concert series.
Well, if it was at the concert series, if it was your own event, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about at the actual plays, not at the concerts?
So, no,
Councilor Reed?
Yes.
their
Oh,
plays
okay.
are separate,
That's-
but
that-
at the concert.
For those of you that don't know, that used to be part of Clint's contract. That is now going to be separate.
Correct.
So if you're asking for donations for Kaiser Homegrown, at Kaiser Homegrown events, then that wouldn't
Okay.
be affected by
Right.
this.
Okay, all right.
So anyway, I'm sorry, the mover has, do you accept?
Yes, I accept
The
that.
second, do you accept?
Accept it.
All right. Thank you very much for that, that change. I have a couple other comments for the record, and then I'll go around the dais. On section 3, P as in Paul, it talks about the accounting due every year, and we just had part of this conversation, but I want to reiterate for the record that in the proposal, it said, even though this is a for-profit limited liability corporation, all funds generated by and for this LLC all goes back into the concert series and into the amphitheater itself. So I just want to emphasize that for the record. It states it there, but to make sure that that was in the proposal and the language in the contract, I want to make sure that it really reflects that, the intent that was in the proposal and what is stated in the contract. The other thing I wanted to get on the record is, here it is. Oh, I had a question on item 3, C as in Charlie. I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, I didn't take this to you earlier, and it should be a minor point. On the sentence that says,
I'm sorry, which subsection?
3C as in Charlie. The sentence that starts with the word however, city will cooperate and assist KRA as time and resources allow in their efforts to secure paid additional sponsorships to the city's sponsored events. And just so folks watching know, they have to be sponsorships. They are not a 501c3. But my question is the word there, to make sure that it refers to KRA's efforts and not the city's efforts. Do I read that correctly?
Correct. There
Okay.
refers to KRA.
All right, thank you very much. Those are the comments I have for the record, and thank you for accepting the amendment. Councilor Kohler, do you have comments or questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question on the friendly amendment. So does that mean that if KRA has a concert or if a band has been contracted to be there and they say, look, we want to do a special fundraiser tonight for a kid that had cancer, blah, 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 that would have to be approved by the council prior to that happening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Herrera, comments or questions?
No, I just, as far as getting the requirements done, that's not, is that unusual for them to get it after we approve this? Shannon, that's a question for you.
Unusual for what?
For not, say your licensing current and not, and you get it current, go to.
Oh, the registration?
Yeah, registration.
No, that's a minor matter.
Pardon?
That's a minor matter.
Okay, that's what, I want to make sure.
Easily
that
resolved.
It was a minor thing. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I wanted to comment on the process of the RFPs, and this seems in many ways similar to the Kaiser Little League proposal, and I guess I just wanted to clarify that Kaiser, with the emphasis and the values on that we put on volunteerism, is a great thing for our city, but it also tends to confuse things like RFPs. RFPs are, the process is in place to keep these issues objective, and it's important to honor the process. And, by redoing this, some might say that we didn't honor the process as we probably should have. I feel like it has been honored, but it has also been convoluted. And so I just kind of wanted to clarify that, the RFP process is something that is in place for all government entities, and it is something that we need to honor. So I guess I just wanted to get that out there, and as much as we appreciate our volunteers, we also expect them to behave professionally when it comes to contracts. And I think that's important to specify.
Thank you very much. Councilor Herrera, did you have an addition?
I agree with that, but I want to mention that, my concern was not the volunteer part of Mr. Hollins. My concern was, I was rooting for fairness, whether he only had 5 days or 11 days, like I told our city attorney, even if he had one less day than the other person, I wanted to have the same amount of days to do there. And I was worried about the fairness, and that was what my concern was. It wasn't giving out, helping out because somebody's a volunteer. I mean, that's always a good thing, but I was concerned mostly on the amount of time they each had to complete their application. So that, like I said, even if it was 1 day more than one had than the other, to me, that's not fair. You got to do it both the same amount. So that's how I thought. That's how I looked at it. And I appreciate everybody's work on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do appreciate both groups and the heart and soul that goes into this entire thing. Please don't get me wrong on that. I'm very mumuch of a heavy process person. It's what I do for a living. I'm going to look at everything very analytically. And my issue was right out of the gate, I agree with the whole conversation about fairness. I personally did not feel like it was unfair because it did hit the website at the same time. I think when we start to set a precedence that we are going to mail it to some people and not to others, I think that's where unfairness really can get kind of in there. So that was my concern originally with this. My other concern is that the business registration name isn't just a lack of renewal. It says an administrative dissolution. So I would really encourage that to be addressed immediately because that's actually terminating your LLC and providing the completed articles of amendment and dissolution. So I don't know if this is just a 15-minute conversation. It sounds like there may be new articles of incorporation and such to be reviewed. So I would recommend taking a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to preface my comments by saying I came in halfway through this process. And so I went back and I watched the December 6th meeting. I wasn't here for that. I wasn't part of the council for that. And I also went back and I read the materials and the applicable portion of the city council meeting packet. And so I feel that I have to operate based on the information that I have in front of me from the process of the RFP. But I do have concerns about this administrative dissolution. That's a concern to me. I also have lots of questions that still remain unanswered about the process. And I don't know that I will ever get them fully answered because I wasn't part of the process from beginning to end. And I wasn't part of those conversations. I do think from what I read and what I watched that there were many opportunities along the way for different, for things to have been done differently and maybe have been done better. I will say that I hope that there will be a receptive willingness to partner and include a variety of entities and demographics in our scheduling of and taking input into the types of bands or acts, whatever that might be for the concert series. So I just would like to end my comments with this. Kaiser, I think that we can do better. And I would challenge all of us sitting around this table and out in the community, and those who want to get involved in this type of event. I would challenge all of us to do better, to be more inclusive and a willingness to partner with those, even though we may not agree with them, and even when it might be uncomfortable for us, because our future as a community depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Duran, comments?
Really, the only thing I have to say is I would like to make sure we can, if we do allow them to, update their registration, make sure that they do it because it's a yearly thing. And to me, it sounds like from what Councilor Smith had said, that this has been dissolved for 5 years, so 4.5 years. Oh, just one? I thought you said 2007. Oh, 2020. Okay, so it happened a year ago, and if it was an administrative disillusionment, then it was a specific. It sounds like it wasn't just missed; it was applied for or registered, changed the registration. So I would like to make sure that this happens, that it does get renewed every year, and that we pay attention to that.
Thank you. Councilor Starr, you had a follow-up on that?
I do. And maybe I've had my head buried in work in COVID for the last 2 years, but did we have and this is going to make me sound so unengaged, and I apologize, and I recognize that. But 2020, yes. Did we have an agreement in 2021 for the concert series?
Yes. There were no concerts that I remember in 2020, because of COVID.
But
there was a limited schedule 21, and the last contract expired in October 2021.
Okay, but I'm just trying to make this connect in my mind. This says it was an administrative dissolution in September of 2020, but we had an agreement in effect in 2021.
Yes, it was effective until, I believe, October 15 of 2021.
The agreement?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to follow up on that. Mr. Wood, you received the accounting for 2021. Is that correct, or is that still pending?
We've received the preliminary information, yes.
And are the tax forms, et cetera, that are submitted as documentation, do those show an active LLC, or did it get dissolved? I mean, this is more than I just didn't register my business last year. This is a dissolution in 2020. So there's a tremendous amount of confusion here. I'm not quite sure at this point. I mean, obviously signing any sort of agreement would have to be contingent on this being a registered business in Oregon that's current. And I'm not sure how much of a delay this is going to create. I mean, we're kind of behind the eight ball.
When the last time this issue was raised, they were able, and they had been dissolved since 2008 in Oregon, that was Prothman. They were able to complete it in less than 30 minutes.
So
It's not, this is an administrative.
the dissolution is not dissolution of the LLC, it's dissolution of the filing with the state of Oregon.
Correct, as I understand it.
That's based in Oregon, okay. Thank you, that helps. I have one more comment. As we've gone through this process, first of all, there are just a few things that I look back on, and I do think about the process that we went through. And I would agree with Councilor Starr's assessment and Mr. Matt Lawyer's assessment that mistakes were made. Not the mistakes that Mr. Walsh eloquently discussed, but looking at the provision of an RFP to interested parties as being unfair or unequal. We know as people in our day-to-day business, it is our responsibility to pay attention, especially when we know a grant is coming or a business opportunity is coming. And I have yet to see a successful protest of a grant that has been awarded or not awarded simply because they didn't see it in time. Is the responsibility of the grant applicant or the vendor that wants to do business. So that on me for not taking a strong stand on that. My other concern that I have in the in the management agreement or the management proposal is talking about the staffing. That having a dedicated person, Mr. Holland, putting in 74 hours a week. Press pause on that. Full-time employment is 40. And other volunteers putting in 78 hours a week. And this is for volunteer work. In my humble opinion, that's not a realistic model, or is it recommended for sustained operations. If somebody gets sick, if somebody is not able to go and do that work, when you have someone putting in that many hours, where's the backup? Where's the delegation in order to be able to complete the work? And if we are relying on people to put in that level of volunteerism in order to keep a program going, then we as a city need to take another hard look at how we're managing it, because that is not sustainable. There is no reasonable or rational framework in which we should say that our volunteers should be putting in that many hours to bring a program or a project to the people of Kaiser on a regular basis. Yeah, there's big toy happen, things like that. This is one and done. But I don't think that the staffing proposal in the proposal is sustainable, and it does cause me great concern. So this has been a very, very tough decision in my mind, and I've had to ponder it from a variety of angles. We definitely have to do better, and we have to take a hard look at what goes into running a program like this so we don't continue to rely on that kind of unrealistic volunteerism, in my opinion. Any other discussion? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick note. The other party that presented something for the RFP that was not the victor in this particular request is not fighting this at all. They're not here. They said, you know what, if that's the way it needs to be, that's fine. I just applaud them, their way the way that they are accepting and saying, yeah, let's move forward. So just my applauding the chamber.
I would agree. Any further discussion? Okay, call for the vote.
I have a
Counselor
question.
Starr?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I just have a clarifying question. Do we review, like, I'm trying to look down here. Is this, it's a 2-year, 3-year, and do we review it every year?
It's a 3-year contract.
And then do we do a review every year? Like,
The council may, but it's not part of the contract.
okay,
It's a 3-year contract with the possibility of 2-year renewals.
okay, thank you.
Is an annual review something that you were interested in making an amendment? Councilor Herrera?
I would be willing to make a friendly amendment to your friendly amendment to establish a review, if that's satisfying. Because, you know, the registry thing was no big deal. You heard the city attorney. And that's a no-no in terms of, you know, getting it ready. But why not, to satisfy everybody, give them a review in a year? Add that onto the contract. In a year, you know, you can check it out and see how he does. That's my friendly amendment officially.
Okay.
So,
Mover?
can I make it since I seconded it, or I can't?
Yes, you can.
I'm doing it.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, it's been accepted by the mover.
And I accept it for some reason.
Yeah, imagine that. You amended it. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, if the council wants to review this every year, you certainly can. You don't need to put it in the contract. If you want to put it in the contract, then we're going to have to figure out the exact language and where to place it in the contract. So, I mean, I guess my question is, do you want to have something that would change the outcome of the contract upon your review? There is, I think, a termination clause. May be terminated each year by either party for no cause. And so you don't need to add anything to the contract. If you choose to have the review, you don't need that as a friendly amendment. By consensus, we will calendar that. Is that acceptable?
Is that acceptable?
I accept that.
All right, so rather than amend it into the contract, it will be calendared for a conversation at annual intervals. And it's not necessarily for termination, it's also for adjustment. It's an opportunity for feedback, it's an opportunity for how can we do better, what are some of the things that are working well, and what are some of the things we can make some changes to. Councilor Durant, I see your hand.
I have a question for Mr. Wood. Did you say that we haven't received a total accounting for last year?
That is correct.
Can I ask, this isn't part of the contract, can I ask that we, well, maybe it would be in the contract, ask for that information before the September date to make a decision?
I'm trying to remember what the timing is.
It's,
on it.
yeah, there's,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, December.
I'm trying to find that section in the contract for December. Okay, P as in Paul? Yes, there it is. KRA must provide a full accounting of all revenues and expenses for the preceding concert series to city on or before December 1 of each year. So for this concert series going forward, that would be due by December 1. And was that what was in the prior contracts?
Yes,
So the one for 2021 was due on December 1,
correct.
correct? And that we have a draft, but we don't have the full accounting.
That is correct, yes.
Okay,
It was submitted because we insisted on the timeline with Mr. Holland, and he indicated that he'll be making some corrections to that, so. I did not, I'm not sure if Tim looked over what exactly was missing, but it didn't seem to stand out.
There are some additional entries still to come, so.
okay, so that will be completed, and to your satisfaction, that will be something important for us to know,
Okay.
that the dollars and the reports are complete. Okay.
Another question.
Councilor Duran?
It says on the termination clause that Such notice shall be in writing and provided to the other party no later than September 1st of any calendar year. So if we want to make a change and we wait till December, that'd be another year.
Well, December is for the financial accounting,
Right.
so are you pinning it to
I'm
that,
asking
or?
if we can ask for the financial accounting before, switch that up a little
The
bit.
series hasn't ended.
Yeah,
So-
So then-
sometimes they have one in September, that would be
Can we
pretty
adjust the
difficult.
dates? So maybe that clause for the termination is after the clause of asking for the information.
Bump that from,
From September 1st to December 15th or something. I'm just trying to, tie
Yeah.
them together.
the problem is that if we terminate and we want to go out to open
that-
conversations with another
That-
provider,
That was the reason for the timing.
Right.
Because we'd have to do a new RFP and get it in place in time, so that
or a
was the
single
reason
year
for the timing for
contract, we
that.
could also do that as
I mean,
well.
Right, I mean, so there's not a good way around that. I mean,
Yeah,
unless you could make it a little later if you wanted to.
Just trying to figure out how to make it work. If there is an issue that we're concerned about, we have to go another year to terminate.
Right, see,
Well-
in fairness to the applicant, if I may, Madam Mayor, to the contractor, you're not going to be able to get records. In fact, December 1 is also kind of pushing it, if you will. So you can't really get those records much earlier than that. And so, I mean, you could try to move that date, but that would be somewhat unfair, I think. So your termination date, I mean, you could make it a different date and just, I mean, we're into January this time, so if you wanted to do it that way, I think the main concern is are you concerned about the finances or I mean, that would be one concern. So I don't know how to address that. You folks need to decide if that's a big enough issue or not.
I think that after, with the September 1,
It's September 30, actually.
is it? Okay. Oh, there it is, yeah. No, that's September.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's September 30 for paying the
You're
bands.
correct. The termination date is September 1 for September
Correct.
30. Yeah, that's right.
But to that point, though, that is still oftentimes during the season, would a date of October 1 after the conclusion of the season, if things are kind of going sideways or people want to make a change or have that conversation, posting out a month, that still would hit a timeline if either party needed to do something different.
Yeah, that would be doable.
So I'm going to put a friendly amendment to change the date from September 1 to October 1, if there's going to be a termination. And that would be in section,
14.
thank you, section 14. This agreement may be terminated beginning September 30 of any calendar year by either party for any or no cause. Such notice shall be in writing provided to the other party no later than September 1 of any calendar year. The friendly amendment is to may be terminated beginning October 30 of any calendar year.
31, ma'am.
31, okay, Halloween. Such notice shall be in writing and provided to the other party no later than October 1 of any calendar year. Does the mover accept?
Well, okay, let me clarify first. So basically, this is for termination for any other reasons besides financial, because we wouldn't have that information until later.
Correct.
You would have
And the reason for the moving of the date is just so that we have more closure of the whole season.
Right, it'd be after the end of the season.
Okay, yes.
It makes sense. I agree.
The mover and the second have accepted that friendly amendment.
So
Mr.
if I
Johnson.
may, Madam Mayor, just to confirm with council, the motion on the table is to delete the last sentence having to do with incidental donations at 3K and change the dates in the termination to October 31 as a termination date and notice of October 1.
Yes,
Everybody understand that?
Yep.
be clear?
Okay?
Any further discussion? Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't mean to harp on this, but a dissolution of an LLC is a little bit more than just a registration with the state of Oregon. There could be additional members involved in that LLC that could have a court claim. I mean, that's not just something we go, oh, not a big deal. It's a dissolution of a limited liability corporation. My concern is you have to turn in your tax stuff. You have to file all these things. I just feel as though the council is making a decision thinking this is just a name thing. This is not just a name thing according to the website. So it gives me great pause on us voting on this right now. I'm all for it as long as the paperwork's right with the state and the feds and everything, but to award a contract conducting business outside of actually I mean, and maybe Mr. Wood could elaborate, but I think that could be bad. I'm concerned here. I haven't heard anything yet that really takes that concern away. If anybody has something, I'd love to hear that, but it's a little bit different than just, I forgot to renew my registration.
So I'll go to Mr. Hare, Mr. Wood, and then.
Well, I'm going to defer to our city attorney on this, but we did have a fair amount of exposure to this issue not too long ago. And as I said, Prothman stopped doing business in the state of Oregon, and I believe had an administrative dissolution of their company here in 2008. And granted, I'm going by the testimony of the principal in the company, and it took him 30 minutes to get registered and back in business in Oregon. And that's, everything. If you go to the website, it actually at one point says this process for registering a new business. So let's say you wanted to change the name and start it off as a new business, takes something like 15 minutes. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but that's just what we've heard.
Mr. Wood, anything further?
I really don't have a lot to add to this component of this discussion, to be honest. I do go through the annual motion of filing with the Secretary of State. And, my renewal takes less than 5 minutes. It takes longer to write the check than it does to actually fill out the forms.
If I may, and I'll go to you, Mr. Johnson, and then I did see your hand, Councilor Kohler. I'm hearing what Council President Smith is saying is because this lapsed during an active contract, and I believe in our contracts we require that a contractor register and remain registered as an Oregon business for the duration of the contract. Is that accurate?
There's a standard clause that says they have to abide by all laws, regulations, and ordinances. And so there's a requirement. It has no penalty, but there's a state statute that says you need to be registered. About the only thing I could say is that we will, if we have any doubt at all about whether they are currently registered and then they're not able to in a very short order, then we won't sign the contract.
Okay.
So I'm not too concerned about it.
All right. So this is contingent on that all being
Certainly.
taken care of. Okay, Councilor Kohler.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. You made my point exactly.
Okay.
My concern was, my statement really is that I understand the concern of Council President Smith, and I share that concern. And if we approve this tonight, and it would all be contingent upon them having their ducks in a row so that they could serve out the contract in a legal way.
All right. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed signify by saying no.
No.
Motion passes with 1 no. Councilor Duran. Thank you all for your work on this, and look forward to getting these issues resolved. That takes us to item 8B, resolution adopting the master plan for Kaiser Public Arts Commission. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe this one is also with our city attorney who prepared the staff report.
Thank you, Wes, Madam Mayor and Council. This matter came before council, and I had indicated that I was unable to make a couple of minor changes. And we had the holidays in there, so my apologies for the delay. They were quite minor. It had to do with putting the term of the contracts in and the fact that the future art projects, the mosaic tile project was inadvertently left off there, and I confirmed that with Debbie Lockhart. That was an inadvertent error. And so with those minor changes, it is before you tonight for adoption, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? Okay, Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to express my appreciation for the Arts Commission and the work that they do there. I have really enjoyed being the liaison on that commission, and I'm just really impressed with their creativity, their inclusivity, and their efficiency in getting these things done and funded, and just beautifying our community. So just, I really appreciate the efforts there, and I think those efforts are very clearly reflected in this master plan.
I second that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on the staff report? Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, adopting the master plan for Kaiser Public Arts Commission.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, adopting the master plan for Kaiser Public Arts Commission. Any further discussion? One comment is that this is very well constructed. This is very well thought out. The Arts Commission has done a masterful job over its lifespan of being very thoughtful and in developing wide-ranging programmatic elements for our community. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously.
Wait till you see the cow plan.
Oh, I got a little bit of a sneak. It's awesome. It'll move us along. Sorry. All right.
It's going to be utterly wonderful.
Yeah, we are about to, let's go on to 8C, which is a resolution authorizing the finance director to sign coronavirus state fiscal recovery fund grant agreement, Meadows Pump Station, and CASA support. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, that our finance director has done the staff report for this.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. This also is kind of a cleanup item, just in reverse of the previous one tonight. This one, we did the supplemental budget for it back in November, and we received the final agreements from the state of Oregon at the end of December. So this was the first opportunity to bring those agreements to you. We are talking about the House Bill 5006, and I'd like to say, personally, I'd like to give a thank you to former State Representative Bill Post. He came and contacted us and said, I got a pile of money, how can you use it best? So he thought and reached out to us, and this is going to be some very significant projects for the city of Kaiser moving forward. As we discussed, we'll be receiving $850,000 from the state of Oregon. This is going to fund two projects. It'll partially fund the Meadows Pump Station, and I want to point out that this is a 30-year plus type of asset that is included in our water master plan. This is a significant move forward for the city by putting in a building at the pump station there. The total project is going to be about $1 million, and this is going to save every household in Kaiser approximately $70 this year. While it seems small now, this is a savings that will go into perpetuity. So this is a major move forward for the city, thanks to former State Representative Bill Post. In addition, as part of our agreement, $150,000 will also go to support CASA of Marion County. There's several projects, and I might turn it over to one of our city councilors if they would like to talk a little bit about how the funds will be used.
I am recusing myself from this conversation, but thank you for that opportunity. I just want to go on record. I reached out to City Attorney Shannon Johnson to seek guidance on recusing myself for a potential conflict of interest. And while it is not a legal definition of a conflict of interest, I think that it is prudent and transparent that I recuse myself. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
This funding will go to support a couple of positions there. They do great work. My mother actually many years ago was a CASA representative herself, so I have a long history with this program, and like I say, they do great work there. So with that, if there's any additional questions, if not, I recommend that you adopt the attached resolution authorizing me to sign the agreement with the state of Oregon. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? I have one, and it might actually be for Mr. Lawyer. there are many people in our community who love our water, but there's a couple of items in there that they don't particularly love. And I noticed that this filter is going to remove or reduce manganese and iron. This is a good thing.
It is. It's a very good thing. Meadows well has historically been problematic in the water quality standpoint. People that live up in the north part of Kaiser know when we turn that well on within days. This filter plant will remove a good portion of the manganese and the iron. I'm not going to commit to removing it all, but it will certainly improve the water quality, we believe, to a point that we can run that well a lot more with a lot less complaints.
A lot less discoloration in the water pipes and other water using
Yes,
functions.
absolutely.
Fabulous. Councilor Herrera.
Question for Mr. Lawyer. As far as the manganese, is that pretty stable, or does it go up or down, or as far as, is there a way to measure that, or?
We measured it, and interestingly enough, it's not really high in Meadows well, but we know from experience it reacts. It's there, and it reacts in a way that testing indicates it shouldn't, but we know from reality that it does, so that's why the filter plant's going in.
Fabulous. That's going to be nice in our water quality report this coming year, when that goes in. All right, any other questions or comments? Okay. I lost track of myself. Did we put a motion on the table? Okay, Council President Smith, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I was so excited.
I move the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022 authorizing Finance Director to sign Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund Grant Agreement, Meadow Pump Station, and CASA support.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, authorizing Finance Director to sign Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund Grant Agreement, Meadows Pump Station, and CASA support. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Abstentions?
I abstain.
Motion passes with 6 ayes and abstention from Councilor Starr. That takes us to item 8D as in Delta, the resolution authorizing city manager to sign amendment number 1 to intergovernmental agreement between Marion County and City of Kaiser for Community Prosperity Initiative. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And again, we are going to hear from our finance director who has some experience and history with this project.
Thank you, Wes. Madam Mayor, City Council, back in 2020, we entered into an agreement with Marion County. The agreement was every year for 3 years, we would get $15,000. And the strings attached to that money was to use for economic development. The initial $45,000 that we did receive, we used for loans during the pandemic. At this point, Marion County has reached back out to us and said, hey, this has been a great program. We would like to continue for 2 more years. So they're giving us another $30,000 over the 2-year period. And at this point, there's 2 items that we have to discuss tonight. One is giving me authorization to sign the agreement with Marion County. And the second piece is, how do we want to spend that money? There is a list of items that were identified back in 2020. We can earmark the funds for either those items, or if there's other economic development type of ideas that you folks have, we can address those as well through a minute motion. So with that, I do recommend that you adopt the attached resolution, allowing the city manager to sign the agreement, and then by minute motion, giving us a direction as far as how you'd like us to spend those funds. With that, if there's any questions.
Any questions on the staff report? All right, I'm scrolling ahead. I'm on the wrong page here. Okay, the page with the...
48.
Thank you. Okay, so let's do the first one first. For the authorization to sign. City Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, authorizing city manager to sign amendment number 1 to intergovernmental agreement between Marion County and City of Kaiser for Community Prosperity Initiative.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council authorize city pass Resolution R 2020-2, authorizing city manager to sign amendment number 1 to intergovernmental agreement between Marion County and City of Kaiser for Community Prosperity Initiative. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. We had, previously what we did with the funds we had, we did, those, mini grants to, local businesses, especially early on with the, pandemic. We were trying to get them some funds to figure out as, the first wave of Are You Kidding hit us. We're now 2 years into this.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, pretty much. And so we need to have a conversation about, is that same model going to be effective in helping local businesses, or is there another way those dollars can be used to promote economic development and, most importantly, the economic vitality of our local businesses? So I will throw it out there. If, as you look through that list that was included from our January 2020 meeting, if you had thoughts about what should be a priority for the use of these $30,000. And what came to mind for me was the small business grants and loans. I know we had to work very hard to get that out there, but there's still need in the community for some of our small businesses, and I'd like to explore that as a possibility. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, is that Tournament Town Sports Facilities Development and Support, is that for the soccer fields in Kaiser Rapids, or is that a different thing?
That would be a different thing.
Okay,
I mean, it's
thanks.
just in general promoting that type of environment.
We don't even know if we can do events like that yet. Anyway, anybody have other things that they would like to explore for these dollars? This is it's a small amount, but for a small business, it can make a big difference. I'm going to go Councilor Starr, then back to Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are we on a deadline to make this decision?
You do not have to make the decision tonight, no.
Okay, thank you. That just helps.
Okay. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my question is for Mr. Wood. Did we get feedback on the small business loans, and if they did do indeed, if they were indeed helpful? It seems to me that they were small enough that it was kind of a drop in the bucket of the need during this kind of a situation. So I just was wondering if we had any feedback, if that was helpful.
That is correct. I think this dollar amount that we were giving out really did pale in comparison to some of the other grant type of money that was out there. Having said that, any assistance did help. I do think that we probably benefited that the paperwork associated with our process was less than having gone through the state. So there is that component. I think we would have to probably look at, I don't have a good answer for you on what the current need is at this point.
Okay, so did all of those grants get claimed that we had available?
They did get claimed, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And the other one I would like to bring to council's attention is procuring consultant services, either through, we have some options available, including SEDCOR, on the city-owned property that we have in areas B and the Rollins property, on marketing that for lease. That is something that is beyond the skill set as incredibly talented as our city staff is. This is something that requires, I believe, people who do this kind of work in marketing that property and helping to get a suitor for that. The benefit to the city and our community is the types of jobs and businesses that would be compatible with our economic opportunities analysis in the sectors that Kaiser is strong in. So that would be the other one I would bring to council's attention for consideration. And then maybe some information from staff on what that would look like and what that process would possibly entail so we can make an informed decision. To Councilor Starr's point, that if we just want to highlight a couple of things that we want to hear back on and then get a staff report back. So those are the two that pop to mind for me. Anything else? Councilor President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a few of them in here that are kind of all similar, referencing city-owned properties regarding like food trucks, city-owned properties regarding development, urban renewal districts. I would like additional information from staff, because I don't even know all the properties the city owns that this is even feasible to do on. And I'm sure the Councilor Starr would like to see that as well, because I just don't know exactly what that would look like, and if this is the time to do it, or if it is something we do need to wait. Obviously, the economy's kind of doing its own thing at the moment, if no one has noticed. So I watch it all day long. So I would like to see what those properties look like and kind of what opportunities would be there. So, and that all kind of encompasses the same basic idea, but it starts with a list of properties. So I'd like to see that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Councilor Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that I'm really, when I just look at this list without any information behind what each of them are, I have two things that I'm drawn to, which is the revitalization plan, point number 2, and then also the food truck pod. But my question, and this is more just to educate me, where does this information and these items, how does that dovetail in with like our diversity and community engagement committee and getting their input on topics such as this? Just, that's more of an educational question for me. But just wondering how that committee's work dovetails in with a question before the city council like this.
Well, since the first meeting is going to be next week, I think that's going to be a recommendation from the committee on how the committee members feel they can best engage and bring salient information on our economic basis, our economic opportunities, and help inform these conversations. So I think there's some opportunity there. So there we go. That's a non-answer because you haven't met yet, so I don't know. But it's a brain trust I'm looking forward to hearing from. I'm going to go to Councilor Duran and then Councilor Kohler.
This may be something that Councilor Kohler was going to ask, but could we put in on this list a budget for the DEI committee? I mean, they're going to need some money to possibly do events or do any outreaches. Would that fit into this budget, or could that come out of the general fund?
I don't have an answer to that. Mr. Johnson?
You certainly can do it any way you like. However, because CDE looks to be a standing committee, that would continue beyond this. Although, I guess I don't know for sure if this money is going to continue forever. We thought it was only 3 years, and now they're adding 2. But depending on the dollar amounts you're thinking about, I think that you'd probably be best served by just doing the budget process.
And if I might add on to that, wait for the committee to bring us some recommendations, but to make sure that in our budget process, as recommendations come forward, then we take the time to look at where we can make investments. So I think it's a point well taken. Councilor Kohler.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have this little goal somewhere in my brain and my life to see some expansion of the urban growth boundary to employment lands would be a great place to start. I think that, we talk about DEI and we talk about all the rest of these things. If we have some opportunity to have some real jobs here, it would just be a wonderful thing for everyone.
Expanded opportunity. All right, so you have I don't think we really took a whole lot off that list except the top one. And the Urban Renewal District, that one didn't come up, but something tells me this might. Mr. Wood.
So just to summarize action plan from here, we'll bring back a staff report laying out a little more description to some of these. We'll also get the feedback from the Community Diversity Engagement Committee, and we can wrap that into some kind of a recommendation as well.
Perfect. Sound good? All right, we've got head nods across the, yes, Councilor Reed.
Okay, so just to clarify, because I am going to be bringing this up in our first meeting. So how much do we have to work with again? $30,000 over 2 years?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, that concludes, so we won't have a motion tonight, just direction for the next steps. That takes us to the consent calendar. Council President Smith, would you please read the items on tonight's consent calendar?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes. There are 5 items on the consent calendar. Item A, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign contract with Buell Recreation LLC for construction of picnic shelters at the Big Toy in Kaiser Rapids Park. B, resolution authorization for disposition of police service dog Kobe. C, approval of the December 20th, 2021 special session minutes. Item D, approval of December 20th, 2021 regular session minutes. And item E, approval of January 3rd, 2022 regular session minutes.
Thank you very much. Are there any polls? Councilor Starr.
Madam Mayor, I believe I need to pull item C.
Yep.
Okay, Andy.
Okay, no D, she was sworn in.
Oh.
Yep.
I want to make a comment on one of them.
Yeah,
Where I
which
pulled
one?
up for B.
Okay, pulling B. Anything else? Okay, so, motion to approve items, A, D, and E? Council, yeah, yes, Council President.
I move Kaiser City Council approve consent calendar items A, D, and E.
Second?
Consent calendar items A, D as in dog, E as in epsilon have been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Item B is in beta. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just didn't want to let this item go unnoticed and unrecognized because not only do we appreciate Officer Keniston and all the work he's done over the years, but Kobe himself. It's a fantastic program, and just really appreciate the service of both the officer and the Kobe, and also to just let our supporters know that we appreciate all the support for the K-9 program. We've got really excellent engagement in that program, and I just wanted to say thank you and express our appreciation as a council.
Councilor Herrera.
I'm going to add to that, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Scott is really good with the dog. He ends up keeping Kobe, and that's the kind of relationships they have with their dogs. I mean, it's really special. And I just admire the folks I'm a dog guy, so, really, I think it's great that the dog has a great home for the rest of his life. And kudos to Scott. Thank you.
I would agree. And as we all know, becoming a K-9 officer is not just a commitment on the part of the officer, it's a commitment on the part of the entire family, because that K-9 officer goes home with his partner. So they'll have to, it's an all-in. They all have to be participants in this, and that's an incredible level of dedication. So I would concur that this is very, very much appreciated, and we want to honor and respect the service of Kobe and his human partner, Officer Keniston. All right, Council President Smith. Just B, we're just doing B.
Oh, okay, I move the Kaiser City Council approve consent calendar item B.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution item 9B on the consent calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Item C, Councilor Starr.
I'd like to abstain from that since I was not sworn in at that time.
All right, thank you very much. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the Kaiser City Council approve consent calendar item C.
Second?
Consent calendar item C has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Abstentions?
Me, please.
Motion passes with 6 aye and 1 abstention from Councilor Starr. And that's the last time you have to do it for that. All right, we're into the current year. that takes us to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. And I understand we have one item to consider. City manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is actually from the city attorney, and I believe he will explain it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Wes, Madam Mayor and Council. Last week, after the packet was finalized, I had got a phone call from the attorney for the Grand Ron tribe indicating that the Siletz tribe's casino proposal had submitted an environmental assessment, or called an EA, on their proposed casino in North Salem. And I've been told it's approximately 2,700 pages in length. And although the council has taken a neutral view on this issue, we did express concerns about transportation and workforce housing, and when we previously commented to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or BIA. We expressed no position at all, one way or the other, on the matter with regard to the casino, other than those two comments. However, he asked if we would join in an extension, and I said I would advise that we not join in your extension, but just to be able to determine whether or not we want to comment or not. We may not want to comment at all. And without saying anything one way or the other about the proposal, I felt a request for an extension of time to comment of 120 days would be appropriate given the volume of materials. So my recommendation is to adopt the resolution that you see on the dais to direct the city manager to send a letter requesting that 120-day extension. As you know, given council rules, the first motion would be a motion to suspend the rules because the item is not on the agenda. And if that motion passes, to take up a motion to adopt the resolution. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on this proposal? Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just know that this is starting to get into land use and things like that, and so I'm still fuzzy on this. Because my daughter is a Grand Ron tribal member, do I need to be abstaining from any of these conversations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's good clarification. I'm sorry, Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to bring up, maybe suggest that we consider having some meetings via Zoom. I
Excuse me.
Microphone.
Councilor, we need to determine this matter first.
There you go.
Oh, I thought you guys were done with it.
No, there needs to be two motions first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's on the floor, right?
Not yet. Okay.
Okay, I'll bring it back up then. I'll bring it up to it.
Press pause. Council
Pause.
President Smith.
Thank you.
I move
Boy, am I
Kaiser
tired.
City Council suspend the rules.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council suspend the rules to take up this matter. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously.
Like I was saying.
Now. We
I
will,
apologize. It's been a very long day.
We have one more motion, Madam Mayor.
hang on, we got to put a motion on the table and then we can vend your comments for deliberation. Okay. Continue to press pause. Now let's put this motion on the table, and do we need to have Councilor Smith do it? Councilor Reed?
I can make it.
You can make it, yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I move the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, directing city manager to send a letter requesting extension of time to comment on Silet's environmental assessment for the Salem Casino project.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2022, directing city manager to send letter requesting extension of time to comment on Silet's environmental assessment for Salem Casino project. Discussion. Councilor Herrera. Now you're on.
Can I bring up the suggestion I was saying now?
Madam Mayor?
Stand by.
No, we're still talking on the same subject here, so I'm
Right,
fine.
right. So is it regarding the extension? Okay.
Yep, we're good.
I believe Councilor Herrera wants to talk about Zoom meetings in the future. And so we still have this motion to vote.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about this motion right
Oh,
now.
yeah, we're doing this one, and then we'll talk about that one. Okay.
Gotcha.
I thought you wanted to do a Zoom meeting regarding this.
No, I'll bring that up afterwards.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Getting us all on the same page. Discussion on the motion on the floor. So given the volume of this, I have some of the comments that we turned in last time, and I think it's a really good opportunity for us to weigh in on a project that does have infrastructure implications for our interchange and some of our workforce housing issues and so forth. So giving our staff time to actually look at that. I don't know, there's pictures in there, but 2,700 pages is 2,700 pages. That's a lot. All right, so that's why I'll be supporting this. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed signify by saying no.
No.
All right, motion passes 6-1 with Counselor Kohler as a no.
I abstained.
Oh, I didn't think, I'm sorry, abstention. I got used to this one. Council President Smith, abstention. So 5-1, 1 no, and 1 abstention. That awesome kid of yours. Yep. All right. Other business. Counselor Herrera.
Now I forgot what I was going to talk about. Just kidding. No, I just wanted to suggest that we consider having Zoom meetings. I know that was kind of confusing last week last meeting. And I just would like to explore the possibility of, I don't know what you guys think, but I would like to see more Zoom, see if we can look into that. So I just thought I'd bring that up.
As a hybrid option or as a switch over?
I know hybrid would take a lot of work for Tracy and all those folks, so, I just think we should consider, I know a lot of my meetings we've all gone to Zoom, and I feel like, well, you were in one of my meetings today, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, you were on the Women's Caucus.
Yeah, and I feel like it's the best way to go at this time, and that's how I feel, so I don't know if anybody else think that's okay, but I would like to consider us thinking about those, along those lines, maybe having Zooms.
So is there a request for the short term or to continue the work for developing what we need to do under the new state laws regarding making Zoom and hybrid available?
That's going to be a law, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
it is. We got to figure that out.
Yeah, but I mean, in the meantime, just like we did last council meeting, we were Zoom, so I just thought that was kind of cool because I didn't have to rush home and change. But I mean, honestly, it's not just for my own personal reason, but I think it's something to consider. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilor Kohler, you had a comment?
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My personal feeling with Zoom meetings, it is extremely hard to really have the same kind of engagement on a Zoom meeting that we have in person. I can see your face. I can see your reaction to things, which I don't always have an opportunity to do with Zoom. And I know that Councilor Herrera really liked the work session Zoom meeting that we had last week, but it was a freaking nightmare for me. It took me a half hour to actually get on the Zoom. It was extremely frustrating for me, for Tim and Tracy, whoever else was working with me. I appreciate them being able to do that, but I want to be in person anytime I have an opportunity to be.
So a couple of things. One is that we are looking at our council rules and procedures for flexibility around Zoom or virtual meetings and hybrid. And we know that we have to do some, find out ways that we can do hybrid and have options for people to be able to participate electronically versus on site for any one of a number of reasons. So this, Councilor Herrera, to your point, I would agree that continuing to work on these options so people do have flexibility for engagement is going to continue to be important. So that's one of our kind of something under development. Is there something where you feel there's an urgency at this point to go back to Zoom?
No, not necessarily. I just thought it was, to me, it was convenient in terms of everybody meeting. And if you have like 3 or 4 Zooms a day, then it kind of, I think I'm used to it now, so I think it's easier for me. There was a time where I couldn't do Zoom, as we all know that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
now it's so easy. I mean, it's, for me, it's, like I said, it's safe, first of all, and also it's, Councilor Kohler is correct, you lose a little bit there, but at the same time, I could be, I wouldn't miss a meeting. I mean, I could be in Seattle and just be at the meeting. So in my case, I think it's kind of convenient, but I would go with what everybody says, but I just wanted to bring it up because I think it would be a good option to consider.
Well, there's going to be some meetings coming up soon where I'm going to be helping take care of families. So this is something that will be coming up. Right now, we have on a case-by-case basis. But this is all contingent upon us continuing to work on our technology and to make improvements so that we can expand our opportunities with both virtual or hybrid options. So I think this is something that is in process, and I really appreciate you reminding us that this is part of that engagement that we need to diversify for people in our community. We had really good viewership, and I acknowledge and I understand that those difficulties with getting on the call, but we did have really good viewership for the Wheatland corridor modal study. And we were able to share that link with some of the residents there that they really appreciated, to be able to watch it and hear the entire conversation in the replay. So there are some definite pluses and minuses as we slog through this. I think we're going to figure it out. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did have some interaction with several constituents who did talk to me about the meeting and that they were able to see the slides and participate by hearing and seeing what's going on. I do appreciate that, but I think when we can be in place and they can watch like they can with the TV right now and with the other means of communication, I think that's great. But I think that we need to be here when we can.
That's right. All right. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to thank Mr. Wood. I think you must have been added to the Facebook admin page for the city of Kaiser because you were able to get that work session up there. I actually agree with Councilor Herrera on this and Councilor Kohler. Council sessions are obviously something that we're going to want to be in person as much as we can for the purpose of public testimony. I've been watching another city try to do this hybrid thing, and it doesn't work very well when people want to actually testify before council. But for work sessions, which we historically have not had online, I think it's a make sense decision to get them on there because we did have over 679 views on that and over 1,000 people engaged in the analytics on that Facebook page. So we don't get anywhere near that in here on a Monday night. So I think as we go forward with things, it's a no-brainer. We can find a happy medium between both requests. So thank you.
Those are great numbers. That is community engagement. Fantastic. All right, thank you very much. Are we good for right now, Councilor Kohler? Councilor
Yes, ma'am.
Herrera. Look right at both of you.
We're right.
Okay. I have one item for other business, and that has to do with communications we have received over the last several months from residents on Cummings Lane. You know, there have been issues where last fall there was a couple crashes, and there's been conversations for a very, very, very long time about what to do for the safety for all modes on Cummings Lane. And we all, most of us know that Cummings has some severe constraints around the complete lack of right-of-way along there. So it takes a conversation with all the neighbors to craft a very unique set of solutions that may or may not be possible, but this is going to be a neighborhood conversation. We can't just come along like on Delight Street where we own the right-of-way, and we were able to do that project. And I think the Sunset Avenue was the same thing. So I kind of circled back on some emails I'd gotten, and I was wondering about having Council President Smith, who's now our liaison to Traffic Safety Bike Ped, and Mr. Lawyer work on maybe some information to bring to that committee on how can we start addressing, or at least bringing the neighbors into a conversation for what to do along that corridor. Mr. Lawyer?
That takes council, is this working?
Yes, it is.
It takes council direction and council support to, as much as condemn property on Cummings Lane. I'll just be cut right to the chase. Without full support of the council, there's no sense of spending any design money or trying to put together any kind of a plan, because anything we do on Cummings Lane is going to require property acquisition.
But I think that may be a conversation to have with the neighbors to make that very clear, Because right now people say, well, just do this or just do that, but I think there's a lot of people who have moved there that don't know the history and don't know the constraints of that corridor. So to start that conversation, I think may be
And,
a helpful first step.
and that's fine, and I'm fully willing to start that conversation as long as the council supports the ultimate worst-case scenario in trying to acquire property. I don't want to have a conversation with neighbors and get them stirred up and get them upset, and then the council back down and say, no, never mind. If we're going to have a meaningful conversation about Cummings Lane, we need to have a meaningful conversation about Cummings Lane with all the residents. That's my recommendation. Sometimes it can be very difficult. I speak from firsthand experience with Sunset Avenue. That was a difficult conversation. We didn't have to acquire property on Sunset. So I'm more than happy to take that on as long as I know I have the support from the council and current council, obviously, that if push comes to shove and it's a priority from the Traffic Bikeways Pedestrian Safety Committee to do an improvement project, do something on Cummings that will require acquisition, that we have the support to do that. So from there, I'm certainly happy to put together a meeting with the residents and discuss options, alternatives, those kinds of things. The one thing that I read through the information in that email, speed is a concern. Cummings Lane is a collector street. There are some suggestions in the email that certainly are not going to happen. But being a collector street, it's meant to move cars. Speed calming measures are not necessarily preferable on collector streets, so that's a difficult part of the conversation. But also, I can certainly put together an outline, share it with the council on options before I schedule the meeting, and move forward having a discussion.
Thank you. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm actually not familiar with your job completely and all the angles that go into it. And I did actually sit in the West Kaiser Neighborhood Association meeting and conversations around traffic and such. Could we just start by maybe we can go walk down it or whatever, and you can show me what you're talking about so that I can actually communicate that both to the Traffic Bike Safety Ped Group and to the Neighborhood Association, so that we have just a real basic language. Hey, look, if you do this, then this. Let's start there instead of having you put a ton of work into it, so we can get some messaging out there as to, you know what, hey, yeah, we could do this, and then we can have a conversation with West Kaiser. We can have find out what the real things are that aren't gonna like totally upset all the neighbors and send us, into having, all these people in here freaking out. So let's start just by taking a walk.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me know when you'd like to do that.
Perfect, thank you.
You bet.
Love it. Thank you. All right, that's all I have under other business. Anyone else? Let's go to staff updates. Mr. Hare?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a brief update on an issue that's important to me, and I suspect is to you as well. We had the final deadline for the next review of resumes in the city manager search. Happy to say that we did get more applications, doubled, at least in the opinion of our consultant, the number of those who are qualified. He's already interviewed 3 of the applicants who he deems qualified, and he's interviewing the remaining 3 this week, and then would like to set up a time with the council, probably sometime within the next couple of weeks, either a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting, to talk about what you would like to see. You at one point had indicated, you as a council had indicated that you were content with having him make the determination as to who met the minimum qualifications and who would be interviewed. And so you may want to revisit that. You may want to talk with him about the difference between those that he deems qualified and those that he thinks might not be. But in any event, I from my perspective, very positive news. I think you're going to have enough people to choose from to make a good selection, and we will keep you posted as to which next steps we need to take.
Excellent. Any questions? Fantastic. Appreciate that update. Mr. Wood?
I have nothing else tonight, thank you.
All right, Ms. Davis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to reiterate, the new Community Diversity Engagement Committee meeting will be on Wednesday, January 26th at 6 here in the council chambers.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Witham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing is we have a planning commission meeting tomorrow night. We're meeting with our consultant. We have a public hearing regarding the park master plan, but we're also meeting with our consultant regarding House Bill 2001 and some kind of the initial draft language of some of the required minimum things we're going to have to do. And it'll be a few more meetings with planning commission before we get to kind of a finalized draft. But as you all know, or maybe remember, we have to make some pretty significant changes to our code they have to be in effect by June 30th of this year. So we're on a very compressed timeline, but the consultant's been doing good work. It's just a lot of stuff. So planning commissioners, give them a hug or a handshake, whatever you feel is appropriate, and tell them thank you. I always do, but it's kind of a heavy lift for them right now for the next few months. And other than that, nothing else. Thank you.
You don't need anything else. Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Received bids today at 3 o'clock for the lower field project at Kaiser Rapids Park. That's working. It's irrigation and seeding. Evaluating the bids, the lowest bid, apparent low bid, came in a little higher than anticipated, but still within budget. So we'll be reviewing those and hopefully bringing that contract to council soon for approval so we can get to work on that. Also next Tuesday, we have bid openings for water line replacements and ADA ramps for this year's work. So that's it.
Rock and roll. Thank you. Chief?
Thank you, ma'am. I'll just bounce off of Councilor Reed's comments earlier about the canines. The public may not know that we have 2 new dogs. Kinnison has a new dog, Blitz, and Jeremy Darts has a new dog, Max, which joined us last week. He's a 2-year-old from Czechoslovakia. He was purchased with money donated by former police officer Dan Carroll's widow, Wendy. And this entire program is run on donations, and we're grateful for all of those that provide them to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council reports. Councilor Duran?
I have nothing tonight.
All right, Councilor Starr?
I think this is where I'm supposed to say, or report that we had our parks meeting, so thank you for attending that. I attended the Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association meeting, but I guess it got canceled, so I didn't get that memo, but it was good to see you there, Bob, so thank you for coming too. And I just want to remind everyone that you are able, effective today, to go online and order your at-home COVID tests. So please do that. You can get those, and they should start shipping around the end of the month. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was able to attend the West Kaiser Neighborhood Association, and I just want to give props to them because they do a really, really good job. I think that they've got a lot of great ideas, and they're constantly out handing out flyers, trying to engage more people, and that's just above and beyond what you normally see a neighborhood association do. And so I just want to acknowledge the hard work that they're putting into engaging their neighbors and thank them for that work. It's very critical for our overall goal in Kaiser to engage as many people as possible. So thank you all for that, and thank you for the invite. And then, yes, this week I will be at my very first, I wish we could come up with a shorter name of this thing, but the bike ped safety traffic thing. We gotta just shorten that. I'm gonna put that in the rules. You can't have more than 5 words in a title. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that and learning new things. So thank you. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a few things. First of all, and I expect that Councilor Kohler and the mayor will comment on this as well, but Phil Bay's funeral was yesterday, and it was a lovely funeral, and just our condolences to Phil's family, and just again to reiterate our appreciation for Phil and all he's done for this community. He was a stellar man, and we will miss him greatly. Kaiser Homegrown Theater has its first production of the year coming in February. It's called Constellations. And then Steel Magnolias will be going up in March. So despite all the COVID craziness, the show must go on. So it will. So keep an eye on their website for those specific dates, as they may shift a bit, but that is the plan. I had a Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Association board meeting, and there was some really important information there, and I'm sure the mayor will elaborate on that a little bit more knowledgeably than I will, but I, again, really appreciate all the work that is being done collectively through that group. They are really doing some concrete work that is definitely alleviating some of the suffering of our most vulnerable populations. I attended the commissioner's breakfast, and there we talked about some ARPA fund issues. They updated us on some of the COVID statistics and updates on some of the homeless efforts that the county is taking some lead on. So it was very nice to chat with them and just to be updated. We have a roundtable with Kurt Schrader coming up this Tuesday, and Ron Wyden's he had a virtual town hall last Sunday, I believe. And so just kind of as a reminder that our federal representatives are definitely interested in what we have to say. And so just kind of keep an eye out for that element and make sure that they are able to represent us as best we can through our feedback. As far as McNary is concerned, we are in full swing with winter sports. We have finals coming up next week, and we have conferences district-wide February 1st. So that's going to look a little bit different. It's a different time for conferences, but we will make it work. And so keep an eye out for the Parent Square communications that will come around for signing up for those. And it's important to be updated and in the communications loop with that. And that is all I have for tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended also a whole bunch of meetings, but one of the meetings was with Councilor Smith, and I got to repeat what she says. Or actually, the West Kaiser Neighborhood Association. There was actually 20. I counted. There was 21 people there. That's amazing. I mean, that's like amazing. I mean, it's a anyway. And I promised I would say this. There's a lot of concern about folks driving, especially now it gets dark. And, I know Councilor Smith and I always talk about people that are wearing dark, and you got to be smart out there. So I do appreciate all the work they do. I don't want to repeat everything she says, but it's worth repeating, actually. But I also attended a Greater Gupser neighborhood, and then my Oregon Latino Network meeting, a couple of LOCs, one today with the Women's Caucus, and I check on the Women's Caucus as a director to not only Women's Caucus but all the other groups to see how they're doing, and it's a great group of people. It's Kathy, Mayor Clark was there also. Sorry about that.
No worries.
The other thing I'm excited to announce that tomorrow's our first meeting. Chief, you got to hear this one. We're going to be meeting with Kennedy Elementary for our first meeting to launch the Kennedy Neighborhood Family Council. And I'm pretty excited because I want to get our council, city council, involved in the process and what this entails, what they did at Holman. And I wasn't too involved in that because of other things, but I'm part of CBEL, as we all know. And we're going to have the initial launch, hopefully, and early discussions on that. And it's pretty exciting. And I want to thank the folks that pushed it, all those, Chief, you, and all the other folks that helped get this, because they wanted to pick schools throughout the whole, and there's a lot of schools to pick from, and we're very fortunate to have them come, and maybe we can work that program out. I hope we will, and I think we will. Also, I wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys know Jim Dyer, but he passed away this week, and he was a longtime resident, a staple in this town. He ran for office like 4 or 5 different times, and he was very involved. In fact, I was introduced to him in the 90s by Dennis Coho. So, and speaking of Dennis Coho, this weekend is the First Citizen Banquet, and I'm pretty excited because first of all, the new award for the young person, the future. I'm just delighted about that, and thanks for all the work, Jesperson, our principal here. and I'm really excited because the whole family is going to be coming from his daughter, Dara, Scott, his brother, Lori, and they have a table, and they're going to be, and I'm just beside myself because it's the honor that I've been waiting for a long time, and it's going to be honoring a young person, and I love it. So anyway, also yesterday was MLK, and you know, I noticed in our day of service, we do a little work around the park, and like I say, the masks are everywhere. People just, I mean, they're the new cigarette butts. They really are.
Yeah, they totally
and
are.
I think I picked up 16 masks just in my little walk. So you put them away like I tell folks, and I shout out to all the folks out there that are complying, wearing masks, and doing the right thing, and not complaining. I really am impressed by a lot of the folks that just go with it. It's tough for everybody. We're all going through some tough times, but you try to make the best of it, you know. And that's pretty much all I got. I want to again thank the West Keizer Neighborhood Association. Man, they were incredible. They ran a great, incredible meeting. I mean, so that's all I got.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, yes, one more thing. The COVID test, we already got ours. I advise, thank you, you stole my thunder there, but Counselor, I just think that it's so easy. It took me like 3 minutes to order them. And I think it could take 2 weeks, but I advise everybody to get to their COVID tests. They're free. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. No wonder the Amazon trucks have been busy. All right, Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is that working?
Nope, now it is.
Is that working?
You got the fuzzy one tonight.
I have the good one.
There you go. You're on.
Just have to hold your tongue right and bite it just right. I attended the Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association meeting. That was very interesting. We did have a couple people there, and we did have some good discussions about things that were not quite Kaiser Neighborhood Association, but they were good things to discuss anyway. I attended the Siebel meeting and a number of other meetings. It's been a hard couple of weeks for me. I've had a lot of time to think about some amazing people that have affected my life. I think of Jerry McGee being gone. I think of Phil Bay being gone. I think of Dennis Coho being gone. All these are people that helped me sit in this chair to begin with, and I miss very greatly these people and the influence that they've had on me, and I miss them. I've got a message from Brandon Bay Saturday. Two of the people that he had to give invocation and benediction had contracted COVID. His daughters Phil Bay's daughters from Utah, and they were not able to attend. And he said, get somebody to help do that, please. Can you take that off my plate? And I want to thank Mayor Clark for being willing to participate and to give the invocation at Phil's service yesterday. Very touching, some of the things that were said about Phil. Phil is a man without guile. And if I can be half a man he has, I think I'll be in pretty good shape. I could say more about all that, but I probably best shouldn't. Thank you.
Thank you, and I know you worked very hard with the family, and it was such a joy to be able to celebrate and to surprise the cookies out of him last April with declaring Phil Bay Day. And the words that were spoken, but also the actions of so many people who are looking forward to continuing to honor his legacy of intentional volunteerism and just genuine kindness. On this year's Phil Bay Day, which will be September 10th, 2022, but of course, we can volunteer and care for each other every day. Thank you for asking me to be a part of that. It was truly an honor to participate and support the family and our community through that wonderful celebration of life. A couple other things just to bring to folks' attention as we wrap up this evening. On the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance, you're going to be seeing a lot of information on the PIT count, the point in time count. That is going to be occurring next week on 25th, 26th, and 28th. I know it says point in time, but because of the space and the types of areas to be covered, they're going to have it over 3 time periods. Training is the 20th. I think a lot of those slots are filled, but they are still looking for people to help out, donate, and because it's not just counting heads, this is, making contact with people and building relationships, and again, engaging to bring more people into shelter, safety, security, services, and eventually permanent supportive housing and on to independence for those who are able to make that transition. At every meeting of the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance, we hear about people who have gone from being on the streets and are making progress now in their lives, either in some of those phases, and it's very, very encouraging to hear the successes that are happening. So watch for this, the point in time count, and additional information on the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. On February 10th, it will be our 2nd annual summit. That is in Allstate. If you're interested in finding out more about what we as a 2-county region are doing to work together to meaningfully meet people's needs, that is going to be an event for you to attend, and it is a Zoom event from 3 to 6 on February 10th. The Heritage Board, Heritage Foundation Board met on the 11th, and want to encourage people to check out what's going on at our Kaiser Community Library, Kaiser Arts Association, Kaiser Homegrown Theater, you heard about some, and our museum. That building and all of the people who are volunteering there are doing some fantastic work to make that a vibrant place for you to come experience and be a part of the cultural community in Kaiser. On the 13th, I was at the Latino Business Alliance, and we heard a presentation about a proposed McKay Commons project. This is patterned after the work that was done to create Broadway Commons, creating a community gatherings place, a sense of identity for a neighborhood, and Broadway Commons has done that. There are people who are now taking that model and looking at bringing that over to the McKay area. The mission to create a community gathering place for McKay neighbors, that all the people in the McKay community would thrive. It was wonderful to hear about just as this work is beginning, and it's going to be unique to McKay. They will pattern after Broadway Commons, but of course, the McKay neighborhood has other wonderful features and uniqueness, and this will reflect that wonderful individuality. So looking forward to hearing that project move forward in community-wide conversations in the McKay area. I think I had one more thing to share with you. Yes, this week is the Oregon Transportation Commission. Tomorrow morning, the Council of Governments Legislative Committee is meeting to finalize our testimony to the Oregon Transportation Commission. This has to do with prioritizing projects for our region, for funding through the ARPA funds, also through the prioritization and criteria for projects that need to be completed. We are going to be talking about our SCATs, our Salem Kaiser priorities that have to do with transit, a transit center, getting funding to the cities and counties to complete projects that we have on our list. Most of Kaiser's are bike ped or urban upgrades to streets that need the full meal deal, like is going to be happening on Verda, and the presentation we just got for the Wheatland corridor. So that's not just do a couple of things here and there. We're looking at wholesale urbanization improvements and upgrades, and those are not cheap. So if I can get some money for that, I'm on it. Go to construction. But we want to make sure that they've got that in mind as they're looking at prioritization. For the greater Marion Polk area, one of our top priorities is the last dollars in to fully build out the Aurora Donald interchange. Phase 1A is going to construction this construction season. Woo! But the big push is for the rest of it because we need that interchange completely upgraded. It is dangerous. It is small. It is not functioning well. It hasn't for a long time. And that thing just plain needs to be replaced so everybody's going to be safer using that facility. There's about 3 other projects that are top priorities, and we'll be promoting those on the 20th in testimony to the Oregon Transportation Commission. So watch for me. I'll be on that Zoom in my box. Those are the main things I wanted to share with you today. So thank you for the extra time for that. Agenda input. On February 7th, we will be meeting at 7 p.m. in regular session. So yes, we have 5 Mondays. Woohoo! I love you guys, but we'll have a little bit of extra time. February 14th, we will not be having a council work session because people think that's a holiday or something. I don't know. So I guess we won't. Not feeling the love, guys. February 22nd, 2022, on Tuesday at 7 p.m., we will meet in regular session. That is a Tuesday because of the President's Day holiday on Monday, the 21st. And then we are going to hold February 28th, 2022 for a work session if we need one on our council goals and work plan. I think a lot of that's going to be accomplished by all of you. We're going to get another draft out to you regarding an update on our work plan and get comments. And if we need to have a work session on it, we will. Otherwise, that will just be included in a future council packet. We also, sounds like we're going to need to hold some dates. I just got a nod from Mr. Hare for possible interviews. So the word of the day is going to be flexibility. So we'll be doing that. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, seeing none, the time is 9:13 and we are adjourned.